What's up, Toyota fans? It's Andrew from Trail Runner Customs. Welcome back to the channel. Now, it's no secret, I love the first generation Sequoia platform. It's rugged, it's reliable, and it just has that old school Toyota charm. And I know a lot of you guys watching feel exactly the same way. But even some of the best vehicles on the road have their own flaws. And it wouldn't really be fair to you, the viewer, for me to only talk about the good things that go along with the first generation Sequoia and ignore some of the obvious shortcomings that it has. So without further ado, let's talk about some of the greatest weaknesses on the first generation Toyota Sequoia. Now, spoiler alert, this video is not just about one specific part like the lower ball joints failing or the rear latch handle. It's a lot more broad. I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about this on YouTube, but it's the fact that this vehicle is just sort of stuck in time. And to be honest, some people may consider this both a strength and a weakness. So let's talk about it. Now, the problem with this car is that it's sort of stuck in between two different eras of vehicle production. It's kind of sitting in that awkward middle ground in between the classic 90s vehicles like the Land Cruiser, the early 4Runner, and some of the older Toyota pickups. The ones with the very, very simple mechanical layout and the analog gauges. Everything is simple and it's sort of timeless. But as you get to these newer Toyotas, the 2020s and beyond, they're just so jam-packed with tech and safety features and everything you could ever think of. The first gen is sort of in this awkward middle ground. It's not new enough to where it has a bunch of new tech features and the latest and greatest technology. It's sort of dated in that way. And like I said, that leaves the first gen feeling just a little bit awkward and out of place in today's world. In general, the 2000s era was kind of where automakers were just figuring out how to blend performance and luxury with everyday vehicles. And on this vehicle especially, it shows. But let's talk about specifics. Now, as this vehicle came stock between 2001 and 2007, there's a lot left to be desired in terms of technology, especially on the interior. There's no touchscreen, no Apple CarPlay, Android, Bluetooth, anything of that nature. And on a lot of these, there isn't even an aux port, which is kind of crazy. I mean, these things are equipped with radios that can take cassette tapes and CDs, so that really shows their age. Even the instrument cluster and AC and heat controls leave a lot to be desired. And modern things like backup cameras and USB ports coming stock on this thing, yeah, you can forget about it. Now, don't get me wrong, I know just as well as anybody out there that there are tons of upgrades for technology to go into this vehicle. It seems like there's a new touchscreen radio coming out every few months. And if you're someone that enjoys getting down and dirty, taking out the dashboard, taking out the radio, upgrading your vehicle, wiring it all up, like I said, if you're a DIY type of guy like me that enjoys that, then you probably don't mind putting in a radio or spending a few hours making it how you want it. But for the everyday people that maybe aren't super car savvy and don't really do all that type of thing, upgrading the technology to make it modern is just going to be a headache and another expense on the vehicle. Or maybe you don't upgrade it. Maybe you just leave it how it is and enjoy that early 2000s charm with all the halogen bulb lights and the movie player in the back. I mean, this movie player reminds me of growing up when I would get in my grandparents' SUV and I'd put Sandlot up on the screen and put on little headphones and I'd watch Benny the Jet Rodriguez pickle the beast. But in 2025, you look inside this vehicle and there's a lot left to be desired. Most of the SR5 models came with the basic cloth seats. You'd have a few limited versions that came with the leather on the interior, and maybe if you were lucky, you'd get one of those rare models that had the heated seats. But that's about it. You can forget about cooled seats or dual climate control or anything like that. And speaking of lighting, this car is absolutely littered with crappy halogen bulbs. The main reason I ended up producing an LED fog light was because when I bought this thing, I turned on the stock bulbs, drove down the road at night, and I couldn't see worth a crap. If you're buying this car in today's age, upgrading the lighting is an absolute must. Even some of the smaller bulbs on the interior, I found myself not being able to see well at night. And so I ended up doing a full rehaul on all the interior bulbs. I'm talking about the map lights, the dome lights, the door lights, even some of the dashboard lights, and then the HVAC cluster. I put all LEDs in that and it just made a huge difference. So at this point, I really think I've hammered home the pitfalls of the interior. Let's move on to some of the parts on this vehicle. Now, there are a few parts that are prone to break. I'm sure if you own a Sequoia or you're active in the community, you know what I'm talking about. Lower ball joints are a big one. Also, the rear hatch handle will break randomly and give you a huge headache. Along with the handle is the actuator, which often goes out. Additionally, the window trim tends to peel a lot, and sometimes it can be difficult finding a direct replacement for a super niche panel or part, and you have to go search at junkyards, which can be a little bit of a pain. Also, some of the interior parts are very quirky. I mean, it still has things like the ashtray or the cup holders that don't really hold your drink all that well, or little quirks and features that you just don't really notice or see on newer cars. And as a Sequoia owner, I've really looked into a lot of solutions that tackle these type of things, not necessarily new lower ball joints or mechanical parts, but little interior pieces such as replacements for the ashtray or cup holders, or even a window trim kit that makes it look new. There are things you can do to fix these problems. And I understand that I may be reaching and nitpicking a little bit here on some of these things I'm bringing up. I'm just trying to give a full comprehensive view as to some of the things I've noticed for those people that are wondering. Now, it wouldn't be a video bringing up the weaknesses of the Sequoia without mentioning fuel economy. Now, this is a little bit of a touchy subject on owners. A lot of people just seem to think if you buy a V8 Sequoia, you shouldn't care about fuel economy as much. You're buying it because it's a large engine, it can tow, it's a powerful engine, it can off-road to a certain extent. It's a heavy car. You're not buying this if you're going to drive, 40 miles to work every day and you have a very long commute. Although this engine is very reliable and bulletproof, you can still expect in the teens for gas mileage. And as you put lift kits, level kits, larger tires, this of course will drop down even lower. Now, gas mileage in this range is perfectly fine for weekend trips, trail riding, overlanding, and stuff of that nature. But like I said, if this is your daily, that V8 gas mileage is probably going to wear a little bit down on you and your wallet.
I got you $1. You gotta be quicker than that.
This engine is from an era where the big beefy engines were popular. Nowadays, you'll see trucks with a turbo V4 or V6, and don't even get me started on that, but they just really don't put engines like this in common everyday cars as much anymore. But at the end of the day, the greatest weakness of the first generation Sequoia really isn't a certain part or a certain feature, it's more just time itself. But that doesn't mean this car is just going to become obsolete or unusable. With the right maintenance, upgrades, mods, and care, you can make this thing run forever, and you can enjoy driving it. So those are some of the weaknesses that I found being a Sequoia owner and driving it frequently. I am 100% sure that I missed a few. So go ahead and drop down in the comments things that you've noticed or maybe something that you disagree with that I mentioned. I always love to hear you guys' feedback. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe and follow along as I continue to create more mods for this thing and more content to post on YouTube. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.